It's that sad time of year where the boating season is coming to a close, so it's time to get your pontoon ready for winter storage. Doing this process right will protect your investment and prevent costly repairs and makes your spring startup much easier. So in today's video, I will review the 6 steps to prepare your boat for winter and show you some specific products to use along the way. And at the end of this video, I will share with you how you can get my free year-round pontoon maintenance checklist, and so you'll want to stick around for that. So step number 1 is to thoroughly clean your interior. After all, you don't want stains to set in or leave any food sources for mold and mildew to grow. But before you begin, this is the time to remove your life jackets and gear and anything that could possibly trap moisture or be subject to theft. Now, once you have pulled everything out of the boat, begin by sweeping or vacuuming or perhaps using a leaf blower to remove any leaves, dead bugs, or other debris. Then, if your upholstery and flooring is fairly dirty, then do a full wash down with a boat soap or a mild soap like Dawn and a soft rag or soft brush. Avoid soaking your upholstery, especially around the seams, since that could lead to water being absorbed into the foam, which could lead to mold. So you don't want any pooling to occur. Now, if your seats are not that dirty, you could simply spot treat them instead with a marine vinyl cleaner like this Starbright Ultimate Vinyl Clean, which is what I use. What you should do is stay away from standard household cleaners like Fantastic, 409, Scrubbing Bubbles, Magic Erasers, and especially bleach. Many of these products contain harsh ingredients or abrasives that can remove some of the protective agents built into marine vinyls, making your upholstery more susceptible to staining, fading, and cracking. The second step is to move on to cleaning your exterior. So you want to start by hosing down or power washing your pontoons and your fencing. And if you have an extendable brush like this, that'll make your job just a little bit easier. Now, the type of soap to use depends on whether you have any wax or sealant on your pontoons that you wish to preserve. If you do, then you'll want to use what's called a boat wash, like this product from Starbright. This is a concentrated product. These types of products are designed to clean effectively without stripping away any sealants or protective coatings. But if you don't have any wax or protective coatings, or you plan to apply some afterwards, then you could simply use something like Dawn dish soap or whatever is provided by the car wash, since these soaps will often strip away the wax. Now, if your pontoons themselves are pretty dirty or have some marine growth, and I don't know if you can see here, but these are fairly dirty down towards the bottom, then you will need to follow up with something a little bit stronger. Now, if your logs are not painted, then you can try something called Starbright Ultimate Cleaner / Restorer. But if your pontoons are painted, then you can use this Starbright Instant Hull Cleaner instead. So again, this is for painted logs. This stuff is amazing and melts away stains and scum with minimum scrubbing. So now, both of these products are a bit caustic, so be careful to follow the directions when using to avoid harming your skin or other items when you're applying it. Now, once the pontoons are clean, then it's time to focus on protection. For unpainted pontoons, you can use something called shark hide to keep your pontoons looking clean and bright for multiple years, provided your boat is not kept on the water. For painted pontoons, you'll want to use a marine wax like the Starbright Marine Polish, which is what I use. Now, mind you, I'm not sponsored by Starbright or anybody else. All the products that I'm recommending in this video are because either I have had good success with them or they've been highly recommended by other boaters that I've talked to. Now, what I like about the Starbright Premium Marine Polish is that it's specifically designed for a marine environment, and it's actually a synthetic wax. That means it will bond much better than a natural wax and therefore last a lot longer. So that's a positive. No one really enjoys waxing their boat. Another popular product that I occasionally use too is this Meguiar's Flagship Premium Marine Wax. That's a good product too. Both and that product contains both carnauba wax as well as synthetic polymer for both a deep shine and long-lasting protection, so you get the best of both worlds. Now, whether you go with the Starbright or Meguiar's, you need to put it on once or twice a season, depending on your usage. And I'll leave a link to these products in the video description. Okay, so step number 3 is to do your annual engine maintenance. You should minimally change your oil and gear lube, although I like to change my fuel filter as well, since it's pretty simple to do once I'm in there. Old oil sitting in your engine all winter contains acids and contaminants that can corrode internal parts and or create sludge, which is why you want to change it out, put in fresh oil. And if your boat will be stored for a long time, consider fogging the engine as well. This coats the internal components with a thin layer of oil to prevent rust and corrosion while your boat is sitting there not being used. Similarly, it's important to change the gear lube as well. Besides getting rid of any contaminants, changing your gear lube is critical to ensuring that you don't have any residual water in your gear case that could freeze and crack during cold weather. And while you're at it, this is the time to pull your prop off and check your gear case. You want to make sure that the seal around your gear case is in good shape and there is no fishing line wrapped around your prop shaft. If there is, this could compromise your seal and lead to water intrusion and a very expensive gear case repair or replacement. So you want to avoid that. Now, before you put your prop back on, apply a thin layer of marine grease on the prop shaft itself. This will keep the prop and the thrust washer from seizing on the shaft and makes removal easier next year. Now, I've created separate videos to show you how to change your oil and gear lube, and I will leave a link to each of those in the video description. Okay, so step 4 is to treat your fuel. Before you store your boat for the winter, be sure to top off your fuel tank to reduce condensation. The air inside your tank could condensate from the natural heating and cooling of the day, which could produce moisture in your gas tank, which is not a good thing. So by filling your tank, you'll leave less airspace in there for this to happen. And after you fill your tank, you should add a good marine grade stabilizer to keep your fuel fresh. Now, what I use is this product from Stable called ethanol treatment, because if you have any ethanol in your fuel, the ethanol molecules could combine with any moisture in your tank to create a separate water layer known as phase separation. This just happened to a friend of mine, and it totaled out his engine. Now, for this particular product, you just add a ½ ounce for every 5 gallons of gas. It doesn't take much. Now, I actually use this year-round, but it's especially critical to do if your boat is not going to be used for a while, you say a few months. That's because the fuel has more time to potentially get contaminated. Now, after you add the fuel treatment, you should ideally run your engine for, say, 10 to 15 minutes so that the treated fuel has time to work through the fuel lines and the injectors. Now, to make this a little easier, you could simply add the fuel treatment before your last outing of the season, or while you're out there on your boat. So by doing this, you could avoid the risk of phase separation and keep your fuel fresh until next spring. Now, step number 5 is to properly maintain your batteries. The first thing you want to do is disconnect any items to your batteries to avoid any parasitic draws, and then charge your batteries to the proper state. For lead acid batteries, which includes your standard flooded batteries, AGM, or gel, you want to keep them fully charged. If they sit partially charged, they can develop what's called sulfation, which will permanently reduce their capacity. You can either put them on a smart charger, and that maintains a full charge automatically, or if you don't have one of those, you should manually check and recharge them every month or so during the storage period. Now, for lithium batteries, the rules are quite different. They don't suffer from sulfation, so it's actually better to store them at about half charge, somewhere in that 40 to 60% range. Keeping them at 100% all winter puts stress on the cells and can shorten their life. Now, lithium batteries also self-discharge very slowly, so you can usually leave them disconnected for months at a time. though it's still smart to check them once or twice during the winter season. Now, no matter what type you have, it's best to bring your batteries indoors if you can, or at least store them somewhere that is both cool and dry. Now, the final step is to cover your boat, but there's a right way and a wrong way to do this. You obviously want your cover to be secure to keep snow and rain and critters out. However, if you're storing your boat outside, make sure your cover is vented or breathable so that the air under the cover isn't drastically different from the outside air, especially on sunny days. Because if it is, this may cause condensation overnight, eventually leading to mildew. Now, fortunately, most pontoon covers are not that airtight, so it's usually not a big deal, but something to be careful about. Now, before you put your cover on, there are some other things that you should do beforehand. First, make sure your interior is completely dry. After all, you don't want to trap any moisture inside, which could become a breeding ground for mildew. Second, you should open up as many hatches or compartments as possible to allow for better airflow. That just helps keep things dry on the inside. This will also help reduce the chances of mildew growth. Third, if you live in a humid environment or store your boat outside, you might want to place some moisture absorbers like damp rid around your interior before you put the cover on. This one is the 18-ounce size, which covers about 300 square feet. Think of this as like a cordless dehumidifier. You just remove the top and the foil, place one or two of these inside your boat, and it'll sop up moisture for about 60 days. Fourth, before you put the cover on, trim your motor all the way down. This is very important if you live in a cold climate. This will keep water from collecting in your gear case, which could then freeze and crack the housing in cold weather, which will again be a very expensive repair. So now you're ready to put your cover on. But finally, if you're storing your boat on a trailer, inflate your tires properly to minimize flat spots in your tires. And that's actually maybe a good idea to move your trailer a little bit every now and then. And if your trailer is parked on grass, place boards, pads, or pavers like this under your tires to guard against moisture, which breaks down tires than gravel or pavement. It's also a good idea to place covers over your tires to guard against UV rays, which will shorten their lifespan. So there you have my 6 key steps to maintain your pontoon boat and get it ready for the off season. But while your boat is in storage, don't completely forget about it either. If your boat is stored outside, you'll want to periodically check on it to make sure that the cover is still intact, because things like wind, rain, snow could compromise it or leave your boat exposed to the elements. You'll also want to check your batteries periodically. So if you have lead acid batteries, I'd say about every 4 to 6 weeks, you should check your batteries and top them off to make sure that they're at 100% charge. If you have lithium, you don't need to check it nearly as often, say once or twice during the off season, just to make sure they're in that 40 to 60% range that we talked about earlier. So as you can see, winterizing or getting your boat ready for the off season is not that difficult, but if you skip these steps, it can make your life much more difficult come next spring. So take the time now to do these things, and you and your boat will be happier for it come next year. Now, to get my year-round pontoon maintenance checklist, I will leave a link to that in the video description where you can get that for free. Well, if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, do me a favor and click on that like button. Also, be sure to subscribe to my channel to get my weekly tips and insights to help you purchase, equip, and maintain your boat. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and I will see you on the water.